We're back with
Right.
Harrowings podcast with Dr. Gabriella Caresi. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Sorry if we screwed up the time. You are 6 hours difference from the East Coast, is that
I
right?
guess we messed up 1 hour, so right now it's like after 7 here, but that's
After
okay.
7. Well, I hope that you can stay with me for as long as you feel like, but, usually a half hour to an hour is a good length of time. We already have Gary Joseph, Kyla Eliza, and Robert Hops joining. So we were talking a little bit about what we wanna do with Substack and other
Yeah.
platforms. I'll leave it to you to pick it up from there.
Well, I think is it's really important to build community and support for each other. And I like this platform because there's no advertisement and you can do things like this. You can get together like what we are doing right now and just have a conversation like I'm sitting at your kitchen table and talk about anything in life. And then people who join, they can ask questions, they can discuss anything with us. And I'm hoping to get more and more like minded people and people who truly enjoy us for our authentic selves and who we are and what we have to offer. And instead of the mainstream fame, you build a community that like really cares about things that are actually important in life, like how we live our life. And you and I just talked a little bit ago about, you know, a trauma that happened to me, a brain injury, and that really made me realize how even more important family and just to be in the present moment and connect with people. So that's why, like, I live in the US, but right now I am in Hungary visiting my mom and my family and having, you know, lunch with my dad. And it's just so nice just to be relaxing and just to be here and healing and seeing family and friends. And I met my co-author for my most recent book for the first time, Gabriella Tatar, and that was really cool. And we met like the same way, like you and I. We just started to write together, and then we wrote books together, and now we met. And when I met her, it was just like I know her already because we've been writing together for years. So the meeting her, it was like I already know her. It was really great. So I really love the writing community. I met many writers in the last 3 to 4 years, and then I traveled and met them in person. Um, yeah,
Well, that's wonderful, meeting people in person. Where have you traveled to besides the US and Hungary? And
I traveled to meet a writer friend who's been asking me to go to India.
okay.
So last year, yeah, I went to India, and Harriet is asking where do I live in the US. I live in Astoria, Oregon. Um, to answer your question, and then I traveled to Toronto and to in Canada to meet another writer friend who actually got sick and unfortunately died, but I was able to meet him before. Rest in peace, Lewis Harris. He died, and but his wife was also a writer, so I keep a connection with her. I have traveled through the US when I picked up my daughter's car to bring it back from Florida. So any rider who was on the way, I literally met them. So I met with like 10 different riders on my way back from Florida to Astoria, Oregon. Some was in Nevada, some was in California, some were in New Mexico and Oregon. Just as I was coming up, I stopped everywhere, and whoever wanted to meet me, who were on the way, I met with them. So yeah,
Yeah, I think that's really important to meet people eyeball to eyeball too. I mean, it's different than being,
yeah,
virtually like we're doing here, though this is the next best thing, I think, in a lot of ways.
yeah.
Yeah. Now
Especially with the distance, but in the distance, especially, it's great that we have a platform like this so we can have this genuine conversation. But then also, like, I'm traveling to Arizona and I just message a writer friend and have breakfast and brunch with them. Like, there was one brunch when like five of us got together, and it was just so great that everybody was able to meet in this location and for the first time meet while we've been writing together for a year or some with some people over multiple years. So it's just really great to build those connections. And then, of course, the bond gets stronger, right? Because you actually met the person. And it's like, yeah, this is really Libby or Dion or who, And yeah, it's just pretty amazing to be able to do that. And I hope to be able to do that in the future. And I would do the same thing. I mean, I would open my home to a writer who I know to come and visit and have conversation and do whatever or go out for lunch. I mean, it's great. It's a great community.
Yeah, and I think the building community is what it's all about. I know that there are a number of people who have chimed in here with, that I've seen before. Alexi Zaitsev's here. Harriet C., of course, is actually contributing. I highly encourage everybody to contribute, by the way. Where are you? How are you? And Paul K. has joined. Paul K. is in Ohio, I think. We have talked about that before when he's dropped into the passing show that I'm apt to film on occasion. And it is wonderful to have a global community, so we can global
Yeah.
perspectives. There was a question I think Harriet is asking you, Gabriella, more so than me.
Yeah.
What city, town are you in right now? Or a country if you don't wanna
I
give
am.
information right away.
Oh, I am in close to Budapest, in Pest megye, in a smaller town called Fot, F-O-T.
Oh, okay, FOT,
Yeah, Fot. Yeah.
FOT. What does that translate to? Do you have a translation?
Not really.
Okay.
It's no.
I don't really know Magyar at all. Um, that anyhow, we were talking about your trip to India earlier too, and that you had the
Yeah.
traumatic event there. Do you wanna share a little bit about what that was about?
Um, yeah, so just the night before I left India, where I met actually multiple writer friends because some came to me when I was staying with a writer friend, and
Mhm.
then I was able to meet two more from the other platform Medium where we brought together, and some of them are already also on Substack. So we had a few lunches with other people who came into the New Delhi to see us. So I think I met maybe four additional writers in India besides the one who I went to see. So it was really great. But the night before we left, we went into this place called Qatar, which is like a monument that's up in hills of New Delhi. They also have like this really famous like metal rod there that it's made with iron and in the 1800s, and they don't know how they made it.
Oh, I'm familiar with
It's
that.
huge.
Right, it's like
Yeah,
wrought iron,
yeah.
right? Like a col
Yes, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And they had a light show, so we bought the ticket. We thought, oh, that would be a great last night thing. And it was night, like first clue. It was dark night up in the top of a mountain thing with a lot of people. Yeah, maybe it was not a good idea. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. So we watched the light show, and there were also like ruins from different churches. So it was like a really like spiritual place. There were Muslim influence. There were influence of Christian, and there were also like other religions and ruins and different things. So I just looked at this amazing iron rod, and I was reading all the description and everything. And behind that, there was like this beautiful, iconic arch that was at some point a church. So I walk up to this amazing arch, and it had like very, very intricate, tiny little carvings. So I
Hmm,
was looking at all these carvings, and I was taking a step, and there was no lighting, so I didn't see that there were stairs. So
yes.
I was taking a step, and at the same time, I went down and just hit the ground. And it happened in such a millisecond that people are asking, like, I had, there was no option to do anything. It's like, it, it is so quick. You
Yes.
stop and you're down, and I don't know exactly how much time went by, um,
Mm,
but it felt like it was a long time. And I literally, the first thought that I had after understanding that I had fallen, the first thought I had that I had died,
mm,
that I had died in India under this arch. And I think part of me did. It almost feels like there's a layer that kind of in there in an imprint.
mm.
And of course, I hit my head. I kind of passed out for a bit.
Right.
I was bleeding from my head. My both of my um, my feet, and also my shin, and this arm kind of like twisted out. That it was
Eesh.
unrecognizable and doubled up like three
Oh,
times.
wow.
So people like started to run when they saw what happened. And I was kind of barely conscious, but kind of was also aware what was happening around me. And they did like some first aid stuff, and then they got a wheelchair and, rolled me down. And we had a driver take me to emergency room there. And, when something like this happened, you are just not fully aware of what's going on, how big the damage is,
Right.
and all that. And um, people who were with me, family and friends, they were just like, stay awake, stay awake. Don't close your eyes, stay awake, stay
What?
awake.
Yeah.
And I was so exhausted. I just wanted to close my eyes, and I really had to force to open my eyes.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of at that moment is this immersed love that I have for my children and
Okay.
my spouse. And at that moment, that's the only thing that mattered, nothing else. So it was really interesting that being so close to that is like that what was the first thought that kind of come across my mind. And and that's what I said to my spouse too, that I love you and I love the children. No matter what happens, I just want you to know, kind of that. And that's the only thing that matters. And yes, I don't know how much detail you want. We went to the emergency room, we were there, they did all kinds of tests, and they mainly there just made sure I was conscious, cleaned all my wounds, and they did x-rays of my arm because it looked out of place and swollen and all that. And first they thought that was broken, and then they decided it was not. And they just kind of did immobilization. That it was probably all ligament and soft tissue thing. But it just, because I fallen on it, I had a big wound here as I
Wow.
have fallen on it and hit different body parts, because also the rocks there were like uneven. So,
Wow.
yeah. And then the next night we flew back home.
Wow.
And
That's quick.
yeah, well, it was already, that's how it was planned. Like this was the night it happened the night before,
You
and they
couldn't.
didn't say anything about not flying. So I was looking like a raccoon because I hit my head. So the purple, like I had this like big huge hematoma in my head,
Ooh.
and as I was on the plane, it started to come down. So like my whole face was like purple, and
Oh, yeah. The pressure changes and,
I wonder what the
oh,
people
you're lucky
thought
you're lucky
was
you didn't
of
die on
me.
the plane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was definitely a life-changing experience, when you have an injury like that. And I didn't realize at first how much I hurt my head, that how dysfunctional I was. I just wanted to get home. And after I got home, literally all I could do was sleep. I even slept on a plane, which normally I can't sleep on the plane. And
Mm.
that's the brain's way to heal, is to allow you to rest. And what I have learned is like you really have to listen to your body when you're tired. You just have to rest. And literally with the brain injury like that, you cannot do anything else. You can't force yourself to stay away. You're just so exhausted. Your brain literally stops you. You just have to sleep. That there's nothing else you can do. So that was really interesting. And then I was referred to occupational therapist. And when she did a test, that's when it dawned on me how much damage I had in my brain. I was not tracking anything. I had the nystagmus in my eyes like this. I was having severe light sensitivity, continuous ear ringing. It is still comes and goes. Um, Nausea, was unable to balance, was swaying like this, if I close my eyes. And all the symptoms you can have post concussion, I had them. It's like I pulled a lottery number on that and just, might as well just give her the whole shebang, not just one symptoms, might as well do it all. So
Got a question of when that happened. Do you know the year?
it, it happened last April, April 30th.
Wow, so very recent.
Yeah, and it can
You
take a long time to heal.
y
Luckily, cognitively, I'm okay. I still have some of the symptoms and I'm still doing some of the therapies. But it was really interesting. In the beginning, the first thing, you get all different exercises, movements to do with your eyes, with your balance and all that. But it really helped me even more. I mean, even before I wrote meditations and tried to be in the moment and doing all those things. But literally, all you could do is be in a moment. Like I couldn't think of the past. I couldn't think of the future. It was just that moment. What do I need to do? I need to make something to eat. I need to do my exercises. I need to obviously go to the bathroom or shower and rest. And my brain didn't allow me to do anything else. The most difficult thing was, and still is, the lack of emotion.
Oh,
It took my emotions. The injury took my emotions. So the hardest thing was intellectually knowing,
hmm.
and this what happens now. I get like these emotional balls sometimes. So sometimes I can feel emotions now. Like if I talk about this story, when I think of my children, I can feel this emotion because it causes so much pain that I had the lack of it before. I would see my son and I feel nothing.
Wow.
Or my daughter. Intellectually, I know I love them. I, my son visited. I hugged him. I felt like something, like a spark of something, but there were no emotions attached to it. And this was especially difficult because I've been a nurse and a very caring person, a very empathetic person, and I could feel nothing at all.
Wow. And the empathy, not having that, being transformed. You mentioned that you felt like you were not the same person any longer.
Yeah, I'm not.
Hmm. And, um, I've had a few falls too. Luckily, I've missed my head. But
Hmm.
traumatic brain injury is something a lot of people suffer from, and they don't know they're suffering from it. I think you
Yeah.
too were entirely sure that people weren't aware that you had so much traumatic brain injury at the
No,
beginning.
I did not.
So how did that diagnosis come about? Was that strictly out of that occupational therapy? Did you have other
And my primary care physician, after doing some of the testing and then getting the feedback from the occupational therapist and seeing the signs and symptoms, in my eyes, in my movements, in my responses to things, that, you know, or the lack of them. And yeah, it's still kind of weird to think about, like, even though I'm cognitively there, and I can function. And now I can laugh. Like before, I couldn't
Yeah,
laugh, you know.
right.
Um, I am much more factual. Like I still like extreme emotions. You can't get me angry. You can try. It would be kind of a fun experiment. And I would be like, okay, well, I guess you're upset. I'm not sure what's going on, but if you want to be upset, you can be, but it's not going to do anything to me,
Right.
which before I
Can't
would have been upset. The same thing, I cannot also get extremely happy. I don't know that state anymore.
mm,
I care about things, but emotion is not always there yet. So
it's interesting
it,
because I'd not picked that up from you in our first couple of conversations. In fact, I found
yeah,
it very engaging and interesting to talk to.
yeah,
So that's good. And you've got the smile back. That's good.
yeah,
I guess
yeah, I
incremental
did.
healing is
But
happening.
there's times like because this is fun and exciting for me.
Oh, good.
So I'm able to be more expressive. And then but that's one of the things that they said. And that's really changed my life because my occupational therapist said,
Mhm.
do what you enjoy because that's going to help heal your brain. And that's really what I seem to do. And talking to people, building connections, writing,
Right.
all these things are exciting for me. And I do better when I do these things. And when I don't, I'm
Yeah.
I am different, if that makes any sense.
Makes sense to me. I find that something similar happens to me in terms of, like, I get lit up inside when I'm talking to somebody, when I'm having
Mhm,
a conversation and it's rich and it's full, and
mhm,
that sort of brings me out of myself, and then when we turn this off, for instance, and I go off to do something else, I'm actually gonna meet somebody for coffee after this, so it's not gonna happen now. But later in the evening,
mhm,
I may find myself going into a sort of a slump with it, and
mhm.
I like to go within myself when I want to go within myself.
Yeah,
But then sometimes if I go 2 or 3 days without this kind of interaction, without some deep, meaningful conversation with somebody else,
yeah.
I'll feel very flat, and I'll feel very down about it, and I'll feel
Mhm,
very despairing of my meaning in life, because I do think that we find meaning in relationship with each other. In fact, this brings me back to my college days when my, um, German professor, Dr. Noe, used to take a piece of chalk sideways and smear it across the chalkboard. He started his lectures, whatever he was teaching, this way, and, he would say, "This is the all," and then he'd take 2 fingers, go and say, "This is us differentiated out of the all, and we're all striving for reintegration into the all, into the
mhm,
naive state." And then he would go into his lecture on naive and sentimentalische Dichtung, or naive and sentimental poetry, the sort of
mhm,
Goethe, Schiller, Apollonian, Dionysian kind of, split in our cultural history, and how we
mhm.
have that strong desire to be in the Dionysian, to be in the ecstatic kind of mode,
Mhm.
and if it's hard to find, that can feel like a tremendous loss, particularly if you were a naturally ecstatic person before that,
Yeah.
or the injury. But the injury is fairly recent, right? So there's good prognosis, I hope. Have you gotten a prognosis for how the healing is likely to go? And what
Yeah,
therapy will you do?
yeah, so, the great thing is that all the cognitive testing is great. I missed a few things, but I passed the test, so it was really interesting that, like, some things, like, they showed me a picture of a kite, and I could not remember for the death of me, what on earth is that? I mean, it's registered, I knew what it is, but the word did not come to me in English.
Right.
Then I remembered part of the word in Hungarian. But now that they told me it's a kite, I cannot erase it from my memory. It is so interesting. So sometimes I'm not finding exactly the right word or
Mm.
um, looking for a word, or I have to kind of describe it. um, like just when earlier I was talking about, I don't know if you caught it. I couldn't remember what like that the injury was on my leg. I know it what a leg is, but the word didn't want to come out.
Right.
Like, so it was really interesting. So I kind of had to fish for it,
Right.
even though I know what it is. I know what a leg is. I know the muscles and the anatomical components. I know
Right.
all of it.
Sure.
But in that particular moment, it didn't want to come. And it is so weird, you know. Or it might come in another language. I'm also one of the things that I also been doing to help my brain practice. I'm learning 5 different languages. When I get bored with one, I go to the other, and then I go to the other, and then I go back. Now I'm mainly focusing on French and Spanish, but I also, as a child, I had to learn Russian, so I'm learning some of that, and sometimes Latin and German. So I'm just kind of going between them. If I get bored with one, then I go to the other, just to kind of exercise my brain. Some things that I loved to do was Sudoku, and I can't do it anymore.
Oh,
It just doesn't work. I look at them and I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. Like, the way how it's set up, it's not computing. But things to do with my hands and my artistic abilities, and the speech, greatly enhanced. Like, I'm doing more lives, I'm doing more interactions with people. Even though before I done a lot of interactions, my interaction level like skyrocketed, and my artistic ability is skyrocketed, while other things that I used to do is not. The tactile things really feel good. So like when they told me one of the things is to reconnect my brain is to do things with my hand. And the
right.
only thing that made sense to do with my hand is to make paper. So
Oh,
I
right.
love reusing, recycling, all this kind of stuff. So like this got me excited to make paper was like the best thing on earth to help to heal my brain. And I made amazing papers. Each of piece was different. There were plants in it. There were egg cartons. There were whatever I found and reused and recycled. The toilet rolls,
Right.
the the papers that the toilet was paper was run in because it was like put it around because it was bamboo. And that just made me feel so good inside to touch that, and also being outside in nature.
Oh, right.
That's
Makes
how
sense.
the the last nature book was created with Gabriella, who's also there, my
Right.
counter Gabriella, who's here in Hungary. Um, because being outside felt good. So we just started to speak like this and said, okay, let's go live. Let's share this with people. Let's share
Right.
this experience of the immersion in nature and just talk about whatever we want to talk about, just like I'm talking with you. And we did that for 7 months, and it became a book about our walks and talks and life and nature and connection. And that's is the beginning of our Weaving Connection series that's walking across continents. And now I'm here and I have met her and it's super cool.
Oh, that's
You
love.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been interested in meeting people as well. I saw somebody setting up something. I've forgotten where it was. It might have been in Hungary, but it was or maybe it's no, it was Poland. They were having a Substack meetup. So I threw out the idea of having one in Washington, DC. So far, nobody's shown up.
Okay.
But,
Oh,
I haven't really pushed it after the initial week
okay.
or 2, that I was thinking of it. This is way back now and sometime in, like, the fall or maybe earlier in the summer, and, but we might try it again. I have rounded up at least one person that is in the deep Washington, DC area, and they do some pretty
My
good
dream is to
stories.
be my dream is to do like a writing retreat when we can come
Mhm.
together and do like writing projects or just, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Uh,
very
I would
interesting.
love that.
New York City would be a good place for it, for instance. I've run into
Just because you're right there.
well, I'm near I'm in New York's
Oh, you're
nice
not?
suburb. I'm in Washington, DC.
Oh, you're in Washington. Yeah, I forgot.
We're about
Okay.
5 hours from New York City, but Christopher Hitchens, who was a writer, he, called DC New York's nicest suburb. And he lived right around
Okay.
before he died in 2011 anyway. Um, and there's some great writers in this area, because they
Hmm.
it attracts a lot of journalists for one thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
people
I know a few
get a lot of
people from Substack who live in that area. Yeah.
we've got a place called Politics and Prose where people go and do book things. Also, Kramer Books right down the block from me. And now JF Books is opened right next to Kramer's, which was somewhere else, but is primarily focused on Chinese. And
Mhm.
that's very, very interesting. I was gonna go to some of their events, and I realized they're sold out already. So I haven't been able to go down to any of the events at JF Books yet. And some of them are actually in Chinese, which will go right past me because I haven't learned
Mhm.
Mandarin yet. Have you started trying the Asian languages by any chance? You said you're learning 5.
Well, I did, and it was just not computing at all.
Like Sudoku, yeah?
Yeah, I looked at it and I'm like, "Uh-huh, mhm, that looks pretty," and kind of closed up the application.
What are the languages you're trying to, switching between as you're teaching yourself languages?
Well, just the ones I said. So mostly right now I'm doing Spanish and French,
Okay,
but then, sometimes I do some Russian
okay,
and Latin and German and a little bit of Navajo.
okay, Navajo, interesting. That's a
Yeah.
tricky one. I mean, they had,
Yeah, it's
codes talkers, right, in World War II were Navajos, so that they were using
mhm.
their language, and it was undecipherable to the Japanese. Anyhow, very
Yeah,
interesting.
I just, do attend this app, the Duolingo app. I'm sure
Mhm,
everybody knows that it's not
okay.
a I'm not getting anything for this. It's not a promotion, nothing. But just that's what I use. It could be anything. There were a lot of different platforms, but it's just easy because it's in your phone or in your computer and you do a lesson and this little guy just jumps around being all excited that you finished something and
How cute.
this little owl is like, yay! So
Get it where you can, huh?
yeah, exactly.
The enthusiasm. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And you said you were doing some things with music therapy, is that right, to rewire the brain?
Yes, yes, which I mean, I think that literally saved my life.
Mhm,
It's called modulated music therapy,
okay.
and they have developed it originally, I believe, for people, for kids who, were autistic or ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is structured music. There's regular music, like regular you listen to Beethoven or Mozart or Vivaldi, or any of these amazing people, you already feel some calmness, and it's good for your brain. But then they structure the music and then they modulate the music,
Right.
and when it's modulated, it's specifically structured to help your brain recalibrate and regrow neural pathways
Interesting.
that replace the previous ones. So
Oh,
you're able to function again. And it's not like you can go out and buy modulated music. You can't unless you done this specific therapy. And the therapy was like what my occupational therapist set up is like different CDs. So you would start with one CD and then you also have to do specific tasks. You cannot do any screens. You have to do like I would do the paper making and listen to this music, but that you can only listen to a half an hour. And it's not always good. Sometimes it's uncomfortable sounds, you know, but and you have to listen to it randomly so you don't learn the pattern of the music as well. So some of the sounds were not pleasant, but they helped with this rewriting. And slowly I could do more and more. And slowly I was able to start to look at a screen again and be able to write again and able to do some tasks that I was not able to do before. And I did that, I think, for about 3 months, twice a day, 30 minutes with different cities. And I graduated from that. And then they allowed me to be able to order some modulated CDs because when you do some major things like a travel or something, you know, big in your life, then it's really helpful to remind your brain of that structure that is still there. And but generally, just listen to classical music. helps with that too. But I'm not sure exactly how they do the changes within the music, but they structure it to match your brain cells, which is like pretty amazing to me. Yeah.
That is really amazing, and that's kind of
And I
fu
had to get a special CD player and
Mhm.
a special headphones to to do that, which was, you know, quite expensive, but you know, you gotta invest in your brain, kind of. So, um,
Nice.
and it's interesting because the music, when you had it on, you were also supposed to hear what's outside. So you're listening to the music, you listen to what's out there, and then you're doing a task and sometimes doing exercises. And with the combination of all that, your brain rewires, regrows, and you're able to be more functional. And yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I ran into a guy who was involved in creating modulated music therapy. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's in the same lane as the ones that you're using or not, but, I ran into him in a mega recording studios here in DC. They were having an open house, and I was checking out what their facility was like and, how it would work for me if I needed to use it for my podcasting project I was thinking of doing on a much bigger scale than what I'm doing here on Substack.
Mhm.
Interesting. And, the guy who was showing me around, he had, with his, family, had developed this, and, they were talking about, all the places it was in use, particularly in treating people with on the spectrum for autism, as well as people with traumatic
Yes.
brain injuries. And it does remodulate, apparently, the pathways in the brain. I think the healing power of music was one of the things we really wanted to bring forward in the project that
Yeah.
didn't actually play out, as it turned out. Maybe I'll dust it off again and see if we can go at it again, but I have to see if I can get my
Yeah.
part.
Let me know if I can help. I
Yeah,
definitely can advocate for it. I think I'm a
right,
walking person to say anybody and everybody who could benefit from it. Now the thing is like this has to be in a certain time frame after your injury.
right.
So if you had a traumatic brain injury 20 years ago, I don't know if it will do anything. Basically, you have to catch it early on and do all these tasks and all this. And I was and still is 100% invested. I want a functional body, a functional brain. And I said to my occupational therapist, I'm going to do anything and everything you tell me. And I did to the letter and more because, I mean, this is what we have, right? This is our life. So I'm going to do everything. But I really hope that anybody who needs it, this therapy is available, because it is amazing. And I don't know, I hope that they will also I'm curious, like, would this help people with Alzheimer? Would this help people with, other things and just generally people with anxiety, depression, stress? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. And
absolutely.
even mental diseases, it like more severe ones. I wonder if music therapy would help like this with the modulated music.
Well, actually, that's interesting you should mention it. A good friend of mine, when I was growing up, when I was in the fife and drum corps, was our snare drum section leader. And he went out to California and noticed they didn't have a fife and drum corps, so he founded one. But what he did for a living
Mhm.
was a music therapist at Patton State Hospital or state prison, which was for the criminally
Mhm.
insane. He always said that his high school life had well prepared him for working with the criminally insane because we were.
Okay.
Yeah. But he had settled down as he got older and he did music therapy there. That was a big part of his work. He had a show he did, which was called Good Morning Patton instead of Good Morning Vietnam. And the music was a big part of his life, so big that he did found a fife and drum that's still going to this day, even though he was killed in a tragic accident when he was 48 on a highway. And these things do happen, unfortunately, that people are snuffed out before their time. Accidents of all sorts can happen to people at any time, but there
Yeah.
is if you survive them, there is the opportunity to heal, but a lot of times the person who has to do the healing has the greatest part of the work to do. It's not so much the healer
Yeah.
as the healer
Absolutely.
being healed. So, thank you for sharing that story. It's really powerful, I think, and, I think it probably deserves to be amplified. Has anybody got any questions about anything that you wanna ask Gabriella as we've been talking about these therapies and such for traumatic brain injuries? And your other injuries have all healed, have they? Or were you still
Oh,
healing?
that would be beautiful. But, you know, because there was so much focus on my brain, some of my other body parts got like put in a back burner.
I
And
see.
even though I was saying that it hurts, 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 it took 5 months to finally get an MRI on my ankle. And then they said, "Oh, do you want the surgery? We can do it next week."
Wow.
Because I have torn one of the ligaments like to a point that it could not be repaired in my right ankle, and also broken a piece of bone there, and also messed up my cartilage to a point that every step was very painful. So normally, we have our bones here and there's a cartilage between. Now, what the cartilage did after the fall is kind of lifted up like this. So there is your bone and there's this lifted up cartilage. So every time you step, it rubs and hurts and rubs and hurts. And um, I also wonder if partially had to do with being as a little bit older woman now. Um, people might not take us always that seriously. And I normally try to do positive intent, but it took 5 months to get an MRI, from April. And finally in October, I had a surgery. Now, because of that time, I used up all my leave, I used up all my FMLA, and in the beginning of December, I was kind of forced to leave my job. And my ankle is still not fully healed, right? And it can take up to a year or even longer. It's very difficult with the ankle because you're standing on it, right? And the blood, it doesn't flow the way it should. So you're always supposed to put it higher than your heart. Now, how can you lay down, put up your leg higher than your heart and work full time? So that creates some difficulties. So like right now, even I'm talking to you, I have it up on on a stool next to me, but it's not higher than my heart. It's
You got my vision of this acrobat foot up on here.
I'm not a gymnast to that
Uh,
extent that I could do that, but it's also like I took one day off after my surgery and I was still working remotely. You have to make a living, so you do what you have to do, but it was extremely painful. I couldn't even touch the ground for 6 weeks, and then I have to wear a boot after that.
right.
So now I'm extremely grateful that I can walk, but it is painful. My ankle is still swollen, and they said it could take a year, maybe longer, to fully recover. I have fake ligaments. I'm sad to say I have artificial body ligaments, which I didn't know they were going to put in. So I was grieving after I woke up that I have other body parts that I didn't have before. I was hoping they can sew, my ligaments together, but they were so ruined that they couldn't. So they had to put in these like three, they call it strings or tape ligaments, and they drilled into 9 different parts in my ankle, and they put in these soluble plugs that going to dissolve within 2 to 3 years and kind of become part of your bone. It's all really weird.
Mm,
And then they wrap your muscles around these ligaments they put in, and the ligament is stable, and then your muscles have to learn how to walk. But imagine that one of your feet walks differently than the other, and you have to synchronize them.
sure.
So I'm learning to
Mm.
synchronize my step right now, and also not to walk like a penguin, like wobbly, but like walk evenly. First,
Yeah.
I was just happy to walk. Now I have to retrain my steps to walk evenly after not walking evenly for like almost a full year.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of recovery going into it. So I'm trying to find something. I would love to do something that I can do remotely, like this kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Um, I'm between the jobs, but yet still working full time, writing and publishing and doing interviews like this.
Yeah, writing and getting other people published as well is something Gabriella does, for those of you who
Yeah.
don't know that already, and, that's another topic we could talk about. I will say that my wife has had a stroke. I don't know if I told you about that, but,
Yeah, you have mentioned that to me
she's half
before. Yes.
paralyzed on the left, so walking, yeah, after a fashion
Yeah.
has been challenging, but it's been a long time now. It's been 18 years, I guess, or something like that. I'm losing
Mhm.
count as I get older, about exactly how long ago it was. No, we're coming up on our 18th anniversary in May, so it was probably more
Mhm.
it was about a year and a half into our marriage that her stroke paralyzed her on the left side of her body for life when she was 42 years old. You can't take too much care of yourself, I think, and it wasn't a matter of not taking care of herself either. It was just one of these things that happens.
Yeah.
What you were talking about advocacy for yourself to get the kind of
Yeah.
you needed for that ankle, that was one thing I wanted to really sort of
Yeah.
drive home. If it's a pity somehow that we have to be such advocates for ourselves to get
Yeah.
the healthcare we need, but honestly, a lot of times physicians just aren't well informed. They can't know everything, and
Yeah.
the getting to see a physician at all, is also quite often not so possible. You
Yeah.
actually have a degree in nursing,
Yes. Yes.
PhD
I have a master's in nursing and a PhD in public health.
in public health,
And I know how to navigate the system, but
right?
remember, my leg was kind of broken, and
Yes,
so. But even then, I was saying that it was hurting. But there's unfortunately in a sick care system, which we are in, instead of a preventative system.
right.
Um, I was forced to do physical therapy with an ankle that was not functioning. So it just got more painful and it got worse and it more painful. But I did physical therapy 2 months before they said, well, okay, this is obviously not working. And actually it was the physical therapist who found the break because I couldn't do certain exercises. And there's a technique that he's fortunately know to do with the ultrasound in a certain low wavelength that he said, well, let's check this out. I think you might have a broken ankle.
Oh,
So he did the low ultrasound and I had this shooting pain going out all over the place. And he said, okay, we are stopping now. You have a broken ankle. And the and after that they just thought that was the only problem. So they done X-rays and they said, okay, you broken down this piece of bone from the end of the ankle, and that's it. Well, but I also had a torn ligament and a cartilage problem, but we needed the MRI to figure that out. So even after they found the break, they wanted me to continue with physical therapy but also see the surgeon to test my ankle. But you also have to wait for a certain amount of time for all the injury and the swelling to go down to find out what the MRI shows is actually the true and accurate picture. Obviously, did that have to be 5 months from the injury? I don't know, probably not. But because those things were already there, I didn't have a ligament apparently, and I had this, um, torn cartilage. So, yeah.
Well, with that
But I really had to advocate for myself, just as I advocated for veterans and other
right.
vulnerable populations before. Um, and it was really interesting because I was also working, so I was advocating for my patients the same time I was advocating for myself to get the care I need, and I was advocating for them to get the care they needed.
And our system needs to be changed. I think that much is
Yeah.
obvious. I've been talking to other people in the field. Did you catch my podcast with, Colette Nelson and Lee Penman by any chance? It was on, Colette's business. She calls it Contour by Colette, but she's a nurse practitioner, and she's based in LA and New York City, and Lee's in New York City as her vice president. And the 2 of them together are working very hard to get treatment for people who have diabetes. She
Mhm.
somebody's hammering on the heart, and if you it's a little distracting. If you wouldn't do that, that'd be nice. No, they just like hammering on the heart. I
I
don't
don't know.
but anyway, thank you. Appreciate that. It's a little distracting. One are hard to if you like what we're saying is great, but just continuously hammering on it is really not helpful. At least in my podcast. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anyone. But let's get back to what I was talking about, which was this Contour by Colette. And Colette Nelson was diabetic. 1, the type 1, where you have
Yes.
this child, and I think
Yeah.
got diagnosed
Inherited. Yes.
full
Mhm.
blown by 14, and then had to advocate for herself as she gets treated for that, and she's
Yes.
been able to do fairly well, it seems, with that. She was able
Yeah.
to
I
tell
think I did catch
in
some of that podcast.
inhalable, insulin. She did
Yeah.
a little dose of that when she realized her blood sugar was at 140 something, and she could just take this inhalant, and a lot of doctors won't even tell you that's available, and you
Mhm.
can do this without having the shot.
Yeah.
Wish my father had known that. We used to say, "I've gotta go upstairs and shoot myself now."
Yeah.
I was having to give himself a shot, once his diabetic type 2 had advanced
Mhm.
that state, and a lot of us have this, and a lot of it's due to our lifestyle and our, food system, and
Yes. I was just gonna say it's a little bit more
environmental.
than us. Yeah.
We were talking about microplastics a lot and the hormonal influences there, because she
Yeah.
also a lot with hormonal therapies as well for, people to, have hormone replacement therapies, when needed. She specializes in menopause treatment and, yeah, name it,
Mhm.
a long list of letters behind her name, not that you don't
Yeah.
have a lot behind yours. Uh, so my point is we need a change in our healthcare system. I'm speaking
Yes.
in Washington, DC. I feel like I'm lying fallow, ready to go into Congress and figure out how I can find the channels that, might actually shift the
But
needle.
the problem is then those some people are not gonna make money off of us, right?
Well,
Because
that's the thing. You need
prevention
to
is
figure out how to
proven.
incentivize them, because there probably are ways of making money on healthy people.
Well, then we would spend money on other things instead of spending money on co-payments when you go to the doctor. But there's other health systems in the world that around the world that really work on based on wellness.
Right.
And it's worked for them. They get incentives to keep you healthy. And you would think that in a society, it would be the preference of everybody to keep us healthy because then you can work, you can spend more money, you can, do all these kind of things. If you're sick, you can't work anymore, you're not doing well, you might die younger, you might get more diseases that just cost society money. So um, I am always puzzled by that. Why? And that's why I actually did my degree in public health because I was working in the healthcare system and I saw that it is not working. By the time the people get to the hospital, get to the clinic, it's too late. We have to prevent it. Every dollar you put into prevention
Right.
worth $15 or more. So it's like an extreme amount of investment. But somehow they people don't want to invest in prevention. We are a reactionary medicine, and I don't understand why. I wish we would
I could
put more into it
yeah.
from starting from the pregnant mom before the child is even born, and then support that child through a healthy development. And yet throw the half of the junk out from the stores that are there that are extremely bad for us. Why are we eating plastic? Why are we eating, all these additives?
Mhm.
There's no need for that. We could eat simpler foods and be healthier and happier and feel better and have longer lives and be productive in society, and we wouldn't have to lose all these people
And
for
we'd save a lot in the long run as well,
yeah,
and there are economic incentives to doing
absolutely.
the way we're doing them. The bad
Mhm.
stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Somebody's be follow the money.
yeah.
Be incentivized to follow the money, folks. I try to wake people up to the fact that every cent we spend is a vote for the kind of world we are co-creating. By mindlessly buying something I bought actually just the other day. I decided I
What did you
wanted to try
get?
it because it was in the line as I was in the
Oh,
BJ
yeah, yeah.
in the house, and I decided I wanted to try this new Cheez-It snack. They're awful.
Mm, mhm.
They're horrible. I'm probably gonna eat them all eventually. Once I get myself over the bad aftertaste they have, it's just
Mhm.
weirdest because they're chemically it's just wrong, right? But I'm
Yeah,
part of the problem. I'm not necessarily part of the solution when I'm doing that, but at least I'm awake and aware enough to know I'm doing it. Most of
yeah,
us aren't. Most of us are asleep at the wheel, and we gotta wake up one of these days, me included. Here I am
yeah.
63 years old. I've managed to survive a lot of things that my other people haven't. I keep stepping over the bodies, as I say.
Mhm.
But why is it that we have a system like this with the kind of chemical industry we have? Well, if you trace it back, I mean, we can do this analysis, and if
Yeah,
actually get in if I add in one of my AI bots or something, I probably can have it do the research for us and spin it right up. One of the things is the HMO Act of 1970 something. I forget the year exactly that the HMO Act was put out that actually created a situation in which healthcare insurance companies could make a profit. They weren't allowed to make a profit before that law.
they shouldn't.
And you see what happens.
Yeah,
You allow them to go on a profit motive for their stakeholders. If it makes money for their
yeah.
stakeholders and the market rewards that, that's your incentive. It's
And
and
also they
do you care about
dictate
people?
what
No, you don't
yeah,
care about
they
people.
dictate what a doctor can prescribe to a patient. And when you can have an X-ray, when you can have a medicine, when you can have this and that. So that it feels like
Regulation did how
that
much
the doctors have
did.
handcuffs on
Yes,
their hands,
that's right.
and they cannot fully treat the patient the way they might they please the insurance,
Now
not
that's
doing
why
holistic medicine.
Now
I
that's why
mean,
Paulette started her business that we were talking about earlier, was because she
yeah,
saw they weren't treating the whole individual. So that's
yeah,
what she tries to do with her knowledge of, for instance, hormonal treatments and peptides, and they're coming out of the bodybuilder world and yada, yada, yada. I don't know how much of that is correct. Actually, always do your own homework, do your own research, folks.
yeah,
If I'm saying it, don't trust me, go to the primary sources when possible. But,
absolutely.
the
Not
thing
just
that
ask AI because many times that's incorrect.
not just
Do
what
don't ask AI, go to the actual source, go to the research articles
right.
because yeah,
Oh, ask AI, I see what you were saying. And
yeah,
that's the source, but
yeah,
that research that goes out into the web and looks at things, and then you go to the
yes,
sources they used, and then you go and if it's printed, it's suspect. Nobody prints anything without an axe to grind.
yeah,
Nobody prints anything because it costs money to print something. Even if it was
mhm,
cheaper to publish, and we were talking about publishing earlier, and maybe we'll do that some other time too. We'll get into more of the writing and publishing side of what we're interested in here. But getting into
sounds
this
good.
healthcare side, I think is really important, and I hope that people will
Absolutely.
wake up. It is kind of like the mechanisms of crowds when you get groups of people together. You remember Mitt Romney saying, "Corporations are people, my friends?" They are bodies. They have entities.
Mhm.
They have agendas of their own that are different than the agendas of the individuals, and they just use the individuals up. I don't know. Do you familiar with, the movie Metropolis from, like, the 1920s? By any chance?
No.
It's a good one. It's a silent film. It was a classic of the Weimar cinema, before Germany went Nazi, and in it,
Mhm,
you see this young man who's very idealistic, and his father runs Metropolis, and
mhm,
the machinery consumes the workers, quite
mhm,
literally at one point, and, this young man, very idealistic, believes this is really horrible, and then this inventor Rothman creates a robot that looks like a girl that ends up taking the, role of one of these workers, sort of what is the girl basically like? She's like their leader, their spiritual guide or whatever.
mhm,
The robot takes the place and is evil, right?
mhm.
So it's very much what we're experiencing now, this movie. It's available on YouTube. I highly recommend people watch it and think about it in terms of the world we are here co-creating. We've been on this path for a while, folks, and we have done it to ourselves. We've allowed our leaders to do it by continuing to support them the way we do. And I'm talking about all of them. I'm not on one side or the other. But anyway, that's my pitch. I really want people to wake up and think about these things and think about advocacy for people who can you're doing so much for yourself, right? And you have
Yeah.
to heal from the injury that just happened. It
Yes.
can happen anytime. You gotta watch your steps. I fell down 12 steps on one of these row houses nearby, hit the landing of the 6th step with my chest, and skidded down the rest, and realized, these steps, they lead down to humility. I
Mhm.
felt very humbled at that point, but I was lucky. I didn't
Yeah.
actually send myself into the hospital or anything at that point. It's a weird kinda luck when you fall like that. I think we may have talked about another fall I had that left me with my first of the stigmata. I don't know if you can see
Oh,
my
wow.
I impaled my hand on one of these low fences. There's a rod about that long and about a centimeter square. Went right
Mhm.
in my hand. It was not even sharpened. It
I
was
don't think we talked about that. I
I
would have
pulled it right
remembered that.
I pulled it right back up off, cupped it, and when I went to the hospital, the doctors looking at it and X-raying it and everything, and some hours later stitched it together sort of loosely so it could heal from the inside out because it had gone straight through. He said, "Well, you've been really lucky." I said, "That's
Yeah.
kind of luck." I
Yeah.
missed something important. I can still fife, you know. So, what anything else we wanna cover, Gabriella, before we wrap up? Kept you for a little over an hour now, and I know it's
I
late.
think we talked about a lot of stuff. I'm sure we're gonna talk again. I
Looking
think
forward to it.
I think the important thing that I wanna say is, and I watched a YouTube video of a 103-year-old woman recently who just said, "If you wanna say to somebody that you love them, say it now. Don't wait." If you care about somebody, pick up the phone. If you want to take that trip, take it now, because we literally don't know. Like what happened to me in India, I could have died, and I feel like part of me did. I become a different person. Maybe I am gonna be a better version of myself, and I am accepting of who I am. But my life changed, and our life can change at any moment. And I see so many people struggle just being in this circle of I'm just working and not living. And I think it's important to live our life. And just the same way with food, don't, you know, eat to exist, not vice versa. Not just, I mean, I'm not saying it's not okay to eat for pleasure, but, you know, um, we are not living to eat.
Mm,
And we are our current society is so much focused on that. The same way it's people are forced to work, and you don't have a life. It's life is so precious, and your family and friends and loved ones are so precious. Spend time on yourself, spend time on them, and money money comes and goes. I lost the house because it burned down. I lost so much money with
mm.
that, but then I learned that I don't need that many clothes. I don't need that many items. And now if I buy something, I give 2 of them away. So I really think about if I need that underwear, like literally, because we don't need as many stuff as we have. And if we have less stuff, maybe we have a better and happier life, because then you can really just focus on stuff that you really love, people or creativity or whatever it is. And I think it's really important also to reconnect with nature and spend time in nature, because we meant to be in nature. We didn't meant to be in a cell of walls. We meant to be outside in nature and go outside as much as you can, because nature healed me together with music, and nature has its own music. And there were days when I was just sitting there and listening to the birds, watching the animals. And it's really interesting that when you're still, they come to you.
Yeah.
The birds come to you, the bees come to you, the grasshoppers come to you, you know, the dragonflies come to you, and all the senses gets heightened when you slow down
Yeah,
and just be in nature and feel the vibration of earth, the trees, and the colors get more bright without psychedelic mushrooms. You do it to yourself by
right.
slowing down and just paying attention. So I guess that's what I learned.
Topic. Yeah, that was a topic we touched upon the last time
Yeah.
about how you fasted yourself into a psychedelic
Yeah.
experience at this particular nature outing. How long
Yes.
ago was that? Was that before the fall in India or was it after?
It was 2 years before the fall,
Okay.
exactly the same time when I had the fall. And actually, I had a vision. And in my outing with veterans for 2 weeks and during my fasting, I had a vision that I had fallen and I had died. And people carried me down from a mountain and took me to a hospital. And that happened 2 years later, except I didn't die. I'm still
Ammunition.
here.
It's very interesting. I
Yeah.
We expand upon this infinitely, and I don't mean to keep you unless
So
you wanna stay and talk more about this, I'll be that.
we could probably talk forever, but at some point we should probably
Yeah,
stop.
and
Right?
it was fun making soup with you the other day too. You were making
Yeah.
soup, I was over here watching you make the soup. So, there are all kinds of things.
I'm trying to do whatever feels good. So if I'm making soup and I feel like I want to turn alive and talk to people, I'm gonna do that.
I
That's
stumbled onto
yeah.
something through my lawyer, recently. It's called Eating Disorders Anonymous. I took the test and I don't quite qualify. I'm, like, at risk of having an eating disorder maybe, and because I probably
Mhm,
with the mindlessness, right?
mhm.
Um, and I can be mindful about it. In fact, while I was with my coach earlier, I was just going through this, which
Oh,
I
beautiful.
probably a good idea. I need to eat it.
Mhm.
Date is today, so I've got, like, 5 servings of greens to go through. Um, and I think that probably isn't too bad because there's only 100 calories in it. But Eating Disorders Anonymous doesn't actually have the strictures that some of the other things do. I don't know if you've ever encountered them. I had
No,
not,
I have not.
and
I heard about it, but
I went to one on Zoom. It was a meditation meeting in particular, so it was a segment where it was about meditation, and I just listened, and then I stayed for the meeting after the meeting and hung out and listened to the ladies, and 1 or 2 gentlemen were there as well. But a lot of us have this relationship with food that is not
yeah,
healthy,
yeah.
and as a result has caused all kinds of cascading effects. I think I may have mentioned in passing that one of my friends around here in DC is one of the top psychiatrists in the country, and he says, "You go into any emergency room, and you can almost guarantee that just about everybody in there will be there for 1 of 3 reasons: smoking, eating, or alcohol." And those 3 things are the things that bring most people in there. Um,
Mhm.
Opioid addictions are, of course, in the news all the time. We can justify, a lot of things on the basis of people are trying to ship in this fentanyl. It's killing like 20,000 people a year. I did the little bit of research, and you can fact check it for yourselves about how many deaths have resulted from alcohol in the past 25 years during the period of time that we've also been at war with most of the world in the US. Um, and it's astonishing, the numbers.
Yeah.
I forget the numbers exactly, but let's say that alcohol is killing a whole lot more people, and food too, and if I go to the food
Yeah.
issue, they probably won't even
Heart
relate.
disease. Yeah.
When it comes down to the whole, um, pneumonia episode that almost killed me, it was a direct result of trying to treat a flu with scotch. I was drinking so much, but they never associated it with alcohol use. They associated it with depression, which was legitimate, but the alcohol is a depressant. But I'd really nearly killed myself, and I wouldn't realize it until a few years later that the pneumonia episode that almost killed me when I was 33, I was really brought on by that, but eventually I got sober, and then I've also gotten through some other things as that have been thrown at me, but there's always something. It's like
Yeah.
and like, Gilda Radner's character used to say on Saturday Night Live, "It's always something." And it comes out sideways, and it comes out of our shadow, I think,
Mhm.
so than out of our face, so and I'm able to talk to you and see your face. I can know that you can see my shadow, and we
Mhm.
help each other heal. And I recommend that to everybody who's come and joined us here today. Anybody have anything you wanna ask us before we wrap up? I'll give it the microphone to Gabriella again. Final word, you're my guest.
I am just gonna say practice love and positivity in the world. We have enough of the other stuff, so, just be out there, be kind, and be as the best human you can be, and also forgive yourself, and don't judge as much as possible.
Yep.
So,
Keep the hand extended to each other because we're all in this together.
yes, we are.
Thank you so much, and I'll
Thank you.
see you again soon, I hope, and have a good time in the meantime over there in
Thank you. I'm truly enjoying myself.
keep on.
Bye, everyone.
Out here.